Hello and welcome to the Peter Rosser Composition Award 2021. So here we are again, really looking forward to a great competition this year. And straight away, let's go to the Artistic Director of the Hard Rain Ensemble who'll be performing today, Greg Caffrey. Greg.
How are you, Cormac?
Well, I'm very good, Greg. I'm really excited about this competition. We missed a year last year. Can you tell us the reason why?
Well, as you can imagine, most organisations, most cultural organisations have had their hands full trying to circumnavigate the whole COVID thing. And we were no exception to that. So we've been doing some concerts, but we've been doing small scale concerts. And we've had a scenario where our performers have, for example, been recording compositions in their own living rooms, in their own bedrooms. So it's really brilliant to be able to get into the Sonic Lab today as a group and play some music.
Yeah, well, Greg, normally, of course, we do the competition, and we have for the last number of years. It started out at Red Box Studios, our studios, and but obviously COVID, with being, needing more space for social distancing between the performers and everything, we've ended up at Queen's, and we're incredibly grateful for that. We have a great relationship with them, and of course, Hard Rain are you temporarily based there?
We are ensemble in residence actually at Queen's University, which is brilliant. We're very thankful for that because it gives us access to this fantastic room, the Sonic Lab, and actually also the Hardy Room, which is just down the road and is a fantastic chamber music venue as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, look, as you can see, they're almost ready to go behind us here. They're down in the research lab. But our three composers, could you introduce us to our three composers who've made it through to the finals this year, Greg?
Yes, so our shortlisted composers this year are Samantha McCoy, Anita Mawhinney, and Kevin Terry. And we had some tremendous work sent to us this year, and it was a very difficult job actually to pare down to these three composers, but I think we've got some fantastic music in store for us this evening.
Well, brilliant. Let's kick it off. I think so. Our first composer is going to be Samantha McCoy. Is that
right,
correct?
Yep.
Okay. Well, look, Sinead, our conductor, is down on the floor, and she's about to interview Samantha, and then Hard Rain are going to perform her piece. So, without further ado, let's hand over to Sinead.
Hello and welcome to the 5th Peter Rosser Composition Competition. It was deferred from 2020. It's now 2021 and we are absolutely delighted to be here in a room together in Queen's University, Belfast. So without further ado, I'd like to invite our first composer, Samantha McCoy, to have a very brief chat about her piece. Welcome to Samantha. So it's absolutely amazing to see you here in person, not on Zoom, because we've been on Zoom a little bit in the interim. So just very briefly, just tell us what you've been up to in the last few months.
Finished my master's and kind of just took a bit of a break, just to chill out a bit, but hoping to maybe do a PhD soon.
Fantastic. Okay. Amazing. And we've really enjoyed rehearsing your piece today. Can you just tell us a little bit about the influences? Because I can hear a lot of different composers. Just tell us a little bit about who your big influences are.
I was studying spectralism around the time I wrote this piece, so a lot of it was like Grisetti and that kind of stuff, and then a little bit of Boulez is in there as well with the post-serial, but it was very much like influenced by spectral
music. And yeah, well, they're not bad influences to have, Boulez and spectralism. I think we can definitely hear that in this, and we've definitely really enjoyed actually playing it together. And just very briefly, what's on the horizon next for you? What's coming up in the next few months or the next few weeks even, or days, who knows?
Just working away at a music data place, but then I think, PhD is probably on the cards at some point.
PhD on the cards, fantastic, right? Well, we look forward to playing your piece. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that was Cai Susah by Samantha McCoy, and that was our first piece in the Peter Rosser Composition Award this year. So while the guys are getting ready to perform our second piece, we'll invite Greg, the artistic director of Hard Rain Ensemble, back to talk to us. Greg, what did you think of that?
I thought that was fantastic.
I mean, quite an assertive use of the Hard Rain Ensemble.
Absolutely. A very, very difficult piece, a very intelligent piece. Yeah, I really loved it.
Yeah, fantastic. So, Greg, we're as we mentioned before, we're very lucky that this event is actually happening. We did discuss trying to do it during the pandemic at one time, but of course, because some of our players come from England, Sarah in particular, we had to abandon it on, I think, twice. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, Sarah and Daniel actually both fly in from England. Yeah. So
and I believe even this time that Sarah's while Sarah's over here, the airline that she's supposed to be going home on has cancelled its flight.
Both flights back, Daniel and Sarah, were cancelled, and then Daniel's was reinstated after we'd purchased another one from a different airline.
Okay. Well, there you go. So that's just how difficult it is to run events like this in our current situation. But anyway, here we are, and I think that the guys are gearing up for another piece. Greg, who's our second composer, and what's the piece?
Well, the next piece is called Coil Through Grass by composer Kevin Terry, and a very different vibe from this one, much more chilled and very enjoyable, I'm sure.
But can I just ask, just to remind people, how are the pieces actually selected that are shortlisted for the final?
Well, that's a good question. Actually, the jury is the ensemble themselves, and we really like that. I mean, they're the people that have to play this music. Yeah. They're the people that kind of know they know it inside out by the time they've finished rehearsing it. And all the scores are sent to us from an open call, but they're sent anonymously. So when the jury, the ensemble, initially look at the pieces, they have no idea who the composers are. So again, that's a brilliant thing.
Yeah, it's completely fair.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, well, let's move on with piece 2, and I believe Sinead's back on the floor, and I think she's going to have a quick talk with her composer before we hear the piece. So here we go with piece 2.
So our next piece is Coiled Through Grass by Kevin Terry, and I'd like to invite Kevin to have a very brief chat. So you've been in Cork for the last while.
Yeah.
How's that been?
Good. Yeah.
Lots to do there, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've been busy with composition and all of that.
Yeah. My story is more or less the same as Samantha's. Just finished a master's, looking at PhDs.
Fantastic. And Coiled Through Grass.
Coil Through Grass.
Yes. Tell us what this is about.
So I finished it at the start of the first lockdown in Cork, and it's about the conflict between like all the green spaces in the city were suddenly empty, and I really enjoyed it, but that's not a great feeling. It's quite conflicted, right? So it's about that,
And you've got some really amazing piano effects here. What was the inspiration behind those?
I guess
they just came to you, yes.
Yeah, I'm not a pianist. I never learned
the
piano when I was a child, so I guess maybe writing normally for it feels a bit awkward to me.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's really interesting because it has this whole kind of Zen-like quality to it, which you totally get through the piece. It's a great sense of calm. So speaking of calm, is it calm for you in the next few months? What's on the horizon?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah,
that's probably the best answer. You're just open to possibility, as are we all, as we kind of face into the next bit. Right. Well, we're really looking forward to getting into that calm zone with your piece. So here we go.
So there you go. That was the second piece, and that was Coil Through Grass by Kevin Terry. Greg, did you enjoy that?
I thought it was brilliant. Yeah, it's such a serene piece, and
totally different
particularly,
use.
Particularly being juxtaposed to the piece before. I thought that it was very effective.
I know that the ensemble will have enjoyed being employed in a completely different fashion as well. So it shows what they can do and how they sound.
Yeah.
With different material. So Greg, I know as we mentioned before, it's very hard under current circumstances to get musicians together, and I know that since we've the Hard Rain Ensemble for a few days, you're using them not just for the Peter Rosser Composition Award, but as a chance to record some other material. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, absolutely. We actually put out a concert on YouTube on Friday evening.
Okay.
A kind of final concert, 4 pieces. Actually, a piece of my own called A Terrible Beauty, but 2 of our commissioned pieces, commissioned with funds from the Arts Council of Northern Ireland, one from Ed Bennett and one from composer Rona Clark, and a fourth piece as well that was written specifically for the ensemble by the French composer Philippe Festu.
Brilliant. So the ensemble are playing music by more and more new composers all the time, and getting some solid repertoire under belts.
Absolutely. I think actually we have probably commissioned about 20 to 25 pieces at this stage in the short time that we've been together, which is about 8 years, so it's quite good.
Yeah, so that's wonderful to see the development of the Hard Rain. So look, I see that Sinead is almost ready on the floor again to have her third piece. So who's the composer and what's the name of the piece this time, Greg?
Okay, our next composer is Anita Mawhinney, and her piece is called Dark Measures.
Okay, well, we'll hand back to Sinead, who'll ask our composer a few questions about their music, and then we'll hear the third
I'm
piece.
delighted to invite Anita Mawhinney to talk to us a little bit about her piece, Dark Measures. Great to see you here in Belfast. This is your hometown, effectively, Anita. So,
close to Bangor, yes.
Yeah. So just tell us. You write a lot of choral music. You work a lot with choirs.
I have done quite a lot of work with the voices. So this is my first time of composing for an ensemble.
And we can hear in your piece that you love to experiment with harmonies, but then also using this kind of new palette of instrumental timbres and colours that's available to you. Tell us a little bit about what Dark Measures is all about.
Well, a lot can be said from the title itself. It was composed just before the first lockdown. So it was a time when everyone was very apprehensive and uncertain about what was going to be happening. So I think you can hear that through the piece. But it's not without its element of dark humour as well. Perhaps you can hear a little bit of that.
Yeah, it's definitely got a glint in its eye. I think definitely that's what we've got the sense of when we've been rehearsing it today. So what's on the cards for you after this? Are you going to do more for ensemble? Are you going to do more for choir? All of that. What's next?
Yes, I would like to continue my work for choirs, and I've been asked to do a commission for Hard Rain. So that will be for clarinet and for flute. And a duet has to be ready for September.
Oh, fantastic.
So that will be the main priority over the next few months, and looking after my children who will be off school as well.
Well, that's it. That's a big job in itself. Fantastic. Well, we're really looking forward to performing your piece. So thanks very much.
Thank you.
I'd just like to invite all the composers to have one last bow with us before we go away and deliberate on who is going to be the winner of the 5th Peter Rosser composition competition. So up we come.
So there you are. That's the 3rd piece this year in the finals of the Peter Rosser Composition Award. Greg, did you enjoy that?
Absolutely brilliant, yeah.
Yeah, it's great. 3 great pieces this year.
And 3 highly contrasted pieces as well.
Absolutely. Now, if you were to pick a winner, would you from those 3?
I wouldn't like to be given that task, actually. I think it's an impossible choice, really. And I admire the jury all the more for having to make that choice.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that they'll be having their deliberations kind of now, straight away after the performances as we speak. And we'll take a minute here just to actually look back at why we started this composition competition and how it all came about. So, Greg and myself and Peter's partner Anne, we were huge fans of Peter's work over the years, and he meant a lot to us. And this was our attempt at doing something positive and carrying forward his legacy. So I know he was a long-term colleague, just even through the artistic scene with yourself, Greg.
Yeah, absolutely. We're a fan of Peter's work, but we were a fan, I think, of Peter himself.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
in fact, when I first formed Hard Rain Soloist Ensemble, I can remember talking through a lot of the kind of issues that were arising at that point, the issues that you would expect would arise with a new organisation. And Peter was such an intelligent guy that you could always get an informed response from him. And he was a great person to go to with questions like that, and a great enthusiast of contemporary music in general.
Absolutely. And he was always working away at it. And he loved to challenge audiences. And so I feel that like the 3 of us have tried to carry that forward. I mean, some of this music are new conversations for people to hear and stuff, and I'm sure Peter would have approved of it. I'm sure he'd be totally surprised that we did something like this, but he did mean a lot to us all and to the artistic life here in Northern Ireland over the years, so we feel it's very appropriate. But so anyway, now Greg, I think the guys are kind of almost finished their deliberations, and I'd be very interested to hear who they've chosen.
Me too.
And we'll be joined this time by Anne McCambridge, who's a member, the founder member of the Peter Rosser Foundation, and Anne will be giving the prize. So it's back to Sinead on the floor.
So the time has come. We're back in the room. We've had a few minutes to talk about these really 3 fantastic pieces, 3 very different styles, and 3 excellent composers with excellent futures ahead of them, we think. So Tom, we started with Cai Susah, Samantha McCoy's kind of fiendish piece really for the strings.
Yeah, it was really fun to play this piece actually, full of a lot of different colours and sort of dramatic effects on the instrument. It pretty much covers all bases in terms of even intonation, like working with chords, tones and stuff. Yeah, right at the end we're sort of moving between those colours very gradually as well, which I found particularly effective.
That's the thing, and there's always a danger when you're using so many effects that it can become kind of an incoherent, thing. But you were saying that, Kim, that the structure really held it together for us.
Yeah, I think it had a very strong structure. The first part of the piece has 3 strong gestures that return, and I was particularly struck by the middle section, which is quite complex, where each player has an independent rhythmic line, and it goes from fortissimo down to sort of 3 Ps, and the result is something really quite impressive, I thought.
It was so dramatic, I think, the music. And then we went then from that to Kevin Terry's very, very sparse, Coil Through Grass, which I think, Sarah, you were saying, it takes a real bravery to do something so minimal for a competition.
Yeah, totally, because it's so risky for
for us to play as well. And the wind instruments had a lot of multiphonics. And with that type of technique, you never quite know what's going to happen on the day and on the stage. And I just love the bravery of it being so isolated and fragile. And I love all the textures of all the instruments. Yeah,
definitely. And it really just created this, as you say, fragile kind of very tense atmosphere, and then something completely different in Anita Mawhinney's Dark Measures. Daniel, you were saying about all the different styles and the interweaving of the lines.
Yeah, and I think one of the really successful things about this piece was the exploiting the full range of the piano to great effect. So we had the sort of the orchestral textures within the piano that can be created, made it very dramatic. And the weaving of the melodic lines, I thought, was particularly successful.
Definitely, there was so many different elements to it. So I think each composer has a very bright future ahead, and I can almost imagine each piece being expanded for full orchestra. So Aisling, I mean, it's amazing to see. This is our 5th version of this competition, so it's great to see the progression.
Yeah, for sure, and I think we've all been really struck by how strong each of the pieces are this year. For us, it was the first playthrough because normally we would shortlist them and play all of the pieces. But because of lockdown, we were judging things by Zoom, all the entries. So today, I think we got a real nice surprise at the high level of all of the compositions, and also just so nice to see 3 really diverse pieces that could stand up really well in a concert. So I think we're also feeling quite excited about performing them again.
That's it, and each of the composers gets another performance of their piece. But it's time to announce the winner, and we did deliberate a lot over this, but we have picked a winner. So I'd like to invite Anne McCambridge to do the honours and tell us who it might be, but maybe tell us a little bit about the Peter Rosser competition very briefly before that.
Thank you, Sinead. Yes, the Peter Rosser competition was set up 6 years ago now, although this is our 5th competition. It was set up in honour of Peter, who was a composer, writer and educator, and his whole philosophy of life was about giving people opportunities and encouraging creativity and bravery in terms of music and arts in general. And I'm also particularly delighted that we have for the first time buses two female composers. Thank God. So it's just wonderful to see that this coming through. Something we'd really like to encourage is more women to apply for the competition. So yes, without further ado, I have to read this out. The winner of the 5th Peter Rosser Competition Award is Anita Mawhinney. Congratulations.
Can you take down for a second?
Can I invite our other lovely finalists to the stage as well to also take a round of applause.
Okay, there you go. Greg, do you feel that's a worthy winner?
Absolutely, fantastic, but three very worthy pieces. I think you'd agree with me.
I don't think there was any weakness at all there. I think it's three different styles, and I'm sure we'll be hearing more from all of the 3 contestants this year. And I'd imagine the Hard Rain Ensemble really enjoyed that music.
Well, we enjoyed the music, and of course we'll feature these pieces in our next season as well. So
Well,
that
there
gives
you
them
go.
a bit of exposure, which is great.
Yeah, so it's we'd like to thank Samantha, Kevin, and Anita for submitting, and we've really enjoyed playing their music. And I think I'd like to keep this relationship with Sark and Queens going, Greg. It's a wonderful place. I feel we're outgrowing our small studio. Do you?
I think we probably have. It's sad to say.
Yeah. Well, look, this competition, I'd like to thank my team here at Redbox Creative who help out and with all the filming gear and support and everything for it as well. And Anne, of course, is integral to this. But the Hard Rain receive a lot of support, and it would be impossible to do this without. So, Greg, could you mention some of the people who've made this possible from your side of things?
Absolutely. Well, Arts Council Northern Ireland are our principal funder, so a big thanks to them, but also the PRS Foundation. And I'd like to extend my thanks to Redbox as well, and to Anne and the Peter Rosser Foundation, and of course to Queen's University, where we are this evening.
Okay. Well, look, that's it from the Peter Rosser competition 2021, and we hope to see you again next year and continue this really vital work of encouraging new composition. Thank you.